So we have to start with the after the differentiating between criminal and civil law. We have to start talk about, does everyone have access to the courts? Can you say that everyone has access to court? Let's study about that. In principle, all citizens of India can access the courts in this country. This implies that every citizen has a right to justice through the courts. As you've read earlier, the courts play a very significant role in protecting our fundamental rights. If any citizen believes that their rights are being violated, then they can approach the court for justice to be done. While the courts are available for all, in reality, access to courts have always been difficult for the vast majority of the poor in India. Legal procedures involve a lot of money and paperwork, as well as um, a lot of money and paperwork, as well as take up a lot of time. For a poor person who cannot read and whose family depends on a daily wage, the idea of going to the court to get justice often seems remote. In response to this, the Supreme Court in the early 1980s devised a mechanism of public interest litigation, or PIL, to increase access to justice. If it allowed any individual or organization to file a PIL in the High Court or the Supreme Court on behalf of those who um, rights are being violated, the legal process was greatly simplified, and even a letter or telegram addressed to the Supreme Court or the High Court could be treated as a PIL. In the early years, PIL was used to secure justice on a large number of issues, such as rescuing bonded laborers from inhuman work conditions, or securing the release of prisoners in Bihar who had been kept in jail after their punishment term was complete. Okay, so that's how it's done. Did you know that the midday meal that children now receive in government and government aided schools are because of an PIL? See the photos, right, and read about the text below to understand how it all came about. So, what is PIL? A lot of times we say that so many things are there for ideal that. This is the best thing possible that can which we take as, wow, I want to be, you inspire something to be in life, so that's the best thing that you want. Okay, but it's not necessary. So same thing. Okay, what is the ideal condition for justice is that we say that it is available to everyone, all the citizens of a country, but actually is it available? The real question arises here. So because everybody going to court and everything, the legal procedure, and all the paperwork, it involves money and it takes a lot of time. And a poor person, who has to work every day to meet their ends meet, they cannot afford to go to court and spend the entire day and keep aside their wage, and it's impossible. So what has been a mechanism has been created by the Supreme Court in the 1980s, where by public interest litigation uh, came up. It is just to increase the access to justice, wherein any individual or an organization can file and PIL, that is public interest litigation. Public interest matlab it is in the interest of the public, in the High Court or the Supreme Court on behalf of somebody whose rights are being violated. And this whole process has been simplified just to increase access to everybody. That even a letter or a telegram which is addressed to the Supreme Court or the High Court will be treated as an IPL. The mechanism here has been very simplified, so that the idea of access and the idea of access to justice is actually proven correct, and it actually is given to people. So let's see, and this PIL has a lot of times been used just for rescuing bonded laborers from inhuman work condition. And even the midday meal, it wasn't there for somebody filed in a PIL, and that's how today what we see midday meal scheme as so powerful, so important, has actually come up. So let's study about some of the examples here. So in the first image here you can see, I think it's a drought condition, matlab where there is less rainfall and there's less water. Yeah, the drought in Rajasthan and Odisha meant that millions face an acute shortage of food. Okay, so here shortage because you can see all the soil, just cracked up. Second, you can see food storage. So let's see what is about here. Meanwhile, the government godowns were full of grain. Often this was being eaten away by rats. There are a lot of been news in the past that the food that is being stored in the government godowns are just being eaten up by rats, and still there are so many people in the country who die of hunger, every day. So third, we can see some women are protesting. So let's see what is it about. In the situation of hunger amongst plenty, an organization called People's Union for Civil Liberties, or PUCL. So it's a very famous organization. People's Union of Civil Liberty. It has fought many battles. When it comes to filing an PIL in the Supreme Court. It started a fundamental right to life guaranteed in Article 21. It's not started, it stated that that the fundamental right of right to live, right to life guaranteed, which is guaranteed under Article 20, when the Constitution included a right to food. The state's excuse that it did not have adequate funds was shown to be wrong, because godowns were overflowing with grains. And the Supreme Court ruled that the state have the duty to provide food for all. They said that it is your duty to provide food to your people, for the people of your state. So fourth, you can see, it's a midday meal in a program going on in school. It therefore directed the court to provide more employment, to provide food at cheaper prices to the government ration shops, and to provide midday meals to children. It also appointed two food commissioners to report the implementation of the government scheme. So that is how the midday meal actually came about into existence. For the common person, access to courts is access to justice. The courts exercise a crucial role in interpreting the fundamental right of citizens, and as you saw in the above case, the courts interpreted Article 21 of the Constitution on the right to life to include right to food. So it said that a right to food is under right to life. So if I'm not given food, how is my right to life being achieved? So it is included in Article 21. They therefore order the state to take actions, to take certain steps to provide food for all, including the midday meal scheme. So that is how the midday meal scheme came up. However, there are also court judgments that people believe work against the best interest of the common person. For example, activists who work on issues concerning the rights to shelter and housing for the poor believe that the recent judgment on evictions are a far cry from the earlier judgments, while recent judgments tend to view the slum dwellers as encroachers in the city. Earlier judgments like the Olga Teles versus Bombay Prince Municipal Corporation had tried to protect the livelihood of the slum dwellers. So a lot of times, another thing is very famous. It's a case study. Okay, not a case study. It's a case that we'll study. Okay, so here, the judgment of the Olga Teles versus Bombay Municipal Corporation, established the right to livelihood. It established the right to livelihood. And how was it done? Let's see here carefully. Yeah, let me see it's visible to you all. There's no point if it's not visible, right? So yep. As part of the right to life, the following excerpts from the judgment point to the ways in which the judges link the issue of right to life to that of right to livelihood. Okay, so it's very important, because how they've linked the livelihood, their right to life. So let's see. The sweep of the right to life conferred by Article 21 is wide and far-reaching. Life means something more than mere, animal existence. It does not mean merely that life cannot be extinguished or taken away. For example, by the imposition and execution of the death sentence, except according to procedure established by law. That is but one aspect of one that is but one aspect of right to life. An equally important facet of that right is the right to livelihood, because no person can live without means of living, that is the means of livelihood. So if you don't have any source of livelihood, how are you going to live, and how is your right to life under article 21 going to be achieved? And that the eviction of a person from the pavement or slum will inevitably lead to deprivation of his means of livelihood is a proposition which does not have to be established in each individual case. In the present case, that facts constituting empirical evidence justifies the conclusion that the petitioners live life in life sorry petitioners live in slums and on pavements because they have small jobs to nurse in the city, and for them there is nowhere else to go. They chose a pavement or slum in the vicinity of their place to work, and to lose the pavement or the slum is to lose the job. The conclusion, therefore, is that eviction of the petitioners will lead to deprivation of their livelihood and consequently to the deprivation of life. So this is very important, that they have nowhere else to live, and they've chose the slum, because if they lose the slum, then they will even lose the job, and that means they've lost their livelihood source, and that means finally a deprivation of life, which is guaranteed under article 21, which is right to life. So some of the important things that came up here was, firstly, that uh, life does not mean that it is just mere existence of an animal. You are just alive, you are having a right to life because you are alive and you're not dead. That does not counter that. It made a strong link that another important aspect of right to life is that right to livelihood. You know why? Because if no person can live without the means of living, that is it's a means of their livelihood, and if they don't have a means of livelihood, how are they going to survive? And that means their right to life is being directly being affected by that which is guaranteed under article 21. So that's how the court linked it and said that they have a full right to stay in the slum and the pavement, because they've chosen that area as a near the vicinity of the city, because then they will have a means to earn their livelihood, and thus their right to life will be protected. Another issue that affects the common person's access to justice is the inordinately long number of years that courts take to hear a case. The phrase justice delayed is justice denied is often used to characterize the extended time period that court takes. In a speech made on 26 November 2007, the Chief Justice of India, K.G. Balakrishnan, noted that the Indian judiciary consists of one Supreme Court with 26 judges, 21 high courts with a sanctioned strength of 725 judges, working strength uh, of 597 as on 1st March 2007, and 14,477 subordinate courts, judges, working strength 11,767 as on this thing 31st December 2006. So you can see the difference, that there's only one Supreme Court, of course, that is so there only, but the one Supreme Court has only 26 judges, and there are 21 high courts, but the sanction strength, the working capacity, the number of judges that can sit in those 21 high courts are altogether 725 judges. But presently noted on 2007, there were only 597 judges. So you can see the difference, how many judges more are required. And whereas the same subordinate at district level, 14,477 who can work, but it is only filled by 11,765 judges. So you can note the difference between the figures. So this is very important, that why actually the cases are kept keeps on delaying, and it can be characterized through this phrase that justice delayed is justice denied. What if I'm getting a justice, if somebody has blamed me, and I am blamed me of murder, and I'm sent to jail. Okay, and my trial is has to be done. And by the time my trial for this thing, for this case comes and everything, I am dead. So what is the point? My whole life has been gone till now, and my whole life has just stopped there in the jail. I have nothing now, no future to look up to. Why am I even alive? It's almost being dead, simply being equivalent to being dead. So that's, we say that justice delayed is justice denied. Number of judges in India, name of the court: Supreme Court, High Court, District and Subordinate courts. Sanction strength, working strength, vacancies here. So you can see the vacancies, how sad are these. It's of November 2014, and this is of these are of 2014, and C is of 2013. That how they this thing more judges are needed. However, in spite of this, there is no denying that the judiciary has played a crucial role in democratic India, serving as a check on the powers of the executive and the legislature, as well as protecting the fundamental rights of citizens. No matter even we have judges working in the courts less as compared to what it should be, still they're serving as a check on the powers of the executive and legislative, and also protecting our rights, fundamental rights as citizens. Now, number of constituent assemblies, so the member of the constituent assemblies has quite correctly envisioned a system of courts with an independent judiciary as a key feature of a democracy. So let's see this photo here. The above photo shows a family of some of the 43 Muslims of uh, Hashimpura, Meerut, killed on 22nd May 1987. The families have been seeking justice for over 20 years. Due to long delay in the commencement of the trial, the Supreme Court in September 2002 transferred the case from the state of Uttar Pradesh to Delhi. The trial is ongoing, and 19 provincial armed constabulary PAC men are facing criminal prosecution for alleged murder and other offences. By 2007, only 3 prosecution witnesses have been examined. Only the photo was taken by Press Club, Lucknow, 2007. So this is of our and this is a case where 43 Muslim people were killed in Meerut on 22nd May 97. Still justice has to be given to these people, for the family members that died. Calculate the number of vacancies. You've done this thing and you can see the difference. So yeah, so let's read about some of the exercises here. Sorry. You've read that one of the main functions of the judiciary is upholding the law and enforcing the fundamental right. Why do you think that independent judiciary is necessary to carry out this important function? We already discussed that, how influence of politician or other executive or legislature can affect the working of the courts. Okay, reread the list of fundamental rights provided in chapter 1. How do you think the right to constitutional remedies connects the judicial review? So anything, if we feel that our right is being violated due to various reasons, we have full right to approach court and make a complaint that my right is being violated. This particular right is being violated. Right to constitutional remedies, we did it here, where we can move to court if we believe that any of our fundamental rights have been violated by a state. Okay, so in the following illustrations, fill in each tier with judgments given by the various courts into the case. Click in your responses. Check your responses with others in class. So we've already discussed it, so you can still do it. Keeping the Sudha case in mind, tick the sentences that are true and correct. The accused took the case to the High Court because they were unhappy with the decisions of the trial court. Yes, they went to the High Court after the Supreme Court had given its decisions. No, it's the order is this: first you will approach lower court, then High Court, and then Supreme Court, and whatever the final of the Supreme Court is, it will be the final decision. Okay, if they do not like the Supreme Court verdict, the accused can go back again to the trial court. No, they cannot go back again to the trial court. See, sorry, wait. See, if there are there have been cases like, but it's, usually whatever the Supreme Court has given the decisions, that is treated as the final decision. See, it's usually, that if the lower court or the high court has given a judgment, they can be, changed or revoked by the Supreme Court. But usually it's the Supreme Court's decision is final. But still, there have been instances where Supreme Court has, they've also changed their decision, especially, in the case of section 375. There have always been, sometimes it was, struck down, and sometimes it was said that no, it is right in the nature of law, and that thing has been done. But a lot of times, it is usually, sorry, but it is usually that the Supreme Court's decision is upheld. Why do you think the introduction of public interest litigation in the 1980s is a significant step in ensuring access to justice of all? We've already discussed this thing very in detail, that how the idea of access to justice for everyone is only, shouldn't just be, set as an ideal, but it should even be implemented. And for poor people, they cannot afford to miss out their daily wages and go to courts, and this mechanism has really helped them out get justice in its truest form, whether we talk about the midday meal scheme or the this thing, bonded laborers working in harmful conditions, and so on. Reread the experts from the judgment of Olga Tellis versus Bombay Municipal Corporation case. Now write down what the judges meant and what they said. Right. We've also discussed this thing in very in detail, that how the mere existence of a human being is not considered that he is getting his or her right to life under article 21. But also they should have a means to execute that right, whether it is, especially, they don't get that means of livelihood to live a life, then there's no point of saying that they are being guaranteed their right to life under article 21. They don't have any source to eat, or they don't have any source to earn to get food, then how are you saying, claiming that they are being they are alive, or they are, they have access? Write a story on a theme, justice delayed is justice denied. You can come up with a story, and yeah, you can also quote that. You can also always quote the figures and make it more interesting, that what is the working capacity, and what is the sanctioned strength, and what is the present number of people who are working there. You can show it, and yeah, emphasize, make a sentence with each glossary word in the, so we'll do this. uh, what they say, the following is a poster made by Right to Food campaign. Read the poster and list the duties of the government to uphold the right to food. How does the phrase hungry stomachs overflowing godowns, we will not accept it, used in the poster to relate the photo essay on the food? Okay, so we've already discussed that, photos 1, 2, 3, 4. And here the decision of the Supreme Court, death by hunger, who is responsible? This is not a favor, it is a right. Duties of the government, sorry, duties of the government, that all persons get food, that no one goes to sleep hungry, that the person who are most vulnerable to hunger, like the elderly, the disabled, widows, etc., get special attention. There is no death because of malnutrition or hunger. The government does not fulfill its, if the government does not fulfill its duty, it has a right, will have to answer the court. Hungry stomachs overflowing godowns, we will not accept it, we will not accept it. Right to food campaign. So this is a poster made for the Right to campaign, where the food which is stored in the good government godowns, they are being rotten, and being rotten, just being stored and being eaten by the rats. What's the point? And in comparison to that, there are people who are dying out of hunger and malnutrition. um, so we see two pictures, where at one point we see people dying out of hunger, whereas there is food being wasted. So what's the point? Instead, that food should be given to people so that they can live and get food. So finally, the end here is here, acquit. So this refers to this refers to the court declaring that a person is not guilty uh, of the crime which he or she was tried by the court. So acquit means that that person is declared that you're not guilty, you haven't done the murder, you haven't been charged for theft, you are free to go. To appeal in the context of this chapter refers to a petition filed before a higher court to hear a case that has already been decided by lower court. So you can always go up to the higher court if you feel that you've not been given justice and a fair trial by the lower court. Compensation in this context of this chapter, this refers to money given to make amends for an injury or for loss. But I would say that money cannot compensate for anything, whether it's life, somebody's life who's died, or money is just the simplest way you can say that I regret that this has happened to you, to say. Eviction in the context of this chapter, this refers to the removal of persons from land, homes that they are currently in. You, it simply means that you are being removed, or being thrown away, evicted. You're just being say, go, go. You're not allowed to stay here. Violation in the context of this chapter, it refers to both the act of breaking a law as well as breach or infringement of the fundamental right. So if I'm saying, see, same as if I have a house and I've written no trespassers, matlab unknown person or who do not own this land are not allowed to enter. And if you do, you'll violate my fundamental right of you'll breach, trespass. It's breach or infringement, infringement is done in the simplest form that I'm saying. Okay, so that's a violation you've done because you've entered my property. If I'll say it in the simplest form, otherwise you're saying that if, for example, in the form of fundamental rights, if I have a right to life under article 21, and as in the case of, for that case, we studied where studied in the Olga Teles versus Bombay Municipal Corporation, where the slum dwellers, they have the right to stay there on the pavement because it is the so nearest to nearest investment to the city life, which is their source of livelihood. If they don't have their source, they won't directly will not have their means of livelihood. That means they will not have anything to earn, affecting directly their right to life, threatened under article 21. So that's about this chapter, and we'll study the next chapter in the next class. And till then, guys, take care, study and be positive, and bye.